their heads. Don't need to. I know it's not possible for a male to know what it's like to feel like a female. It's not a possibility.
Okay,
so
you think every male feels perfectly masculine?
Check. We're getting. I think we're getting. It has nothing to do with masculine.
But you get that that's an absurd point.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to yesterday's news channel, where we keep tabs on Cenk Uygur so you don't have to. Earlier this week, Andrew Wilson and Cenk Uygur went head-to-head on Piers Morgan Uncensored, debating the trans issue. You've got Andrew Wilson on one side making the logical case, and Cenk Uygur on the other side trying to pander to his progressive audience, or what's left of it. Anyway, let's watch Andrew Wilson crush Cenk Uygur's progressive narrative. Let's go.
Free speech. The father Ted, co-creator Graham Linehan, one of the most popular comedies in UK TV history, was arrested today after arriving back at Heathrow on a flight from the United States, and he revealed in an online Substack article that officials became highly concerned for his health when his blood pressure raised to over 200 and took him to hospital. That's been confirmed by the police. But he says 5 armed cops seized him and arrested him at the airport. And why did they do that? Because in April, he did these 3 tweets, or posts as they're now called on X. If a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he is committing a violent, abusive act. Make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls. The second one, commenting on a picture of a trans demonstration, he wrote, "A photo you can smell." The third one, "I hate them, misogynists and homophobes, fuck the M for them." Quality and safety, and that it's actually the refusal to deal with that central problem, both in the United States, the United Kingdom, and other countries, that has led to such rage on behalf of women's rights.
The rage comes from trans people existing, which is what I find extraordinarily dangerous. You know, I work with trans people. Friends of mine are trans. You know, the sort of the danger and the vitriol that is spread across our tabloids every single day, I have never, ever experienced or seen. And honestly, I just think he needs a new bit. I think, you know, maybe it would be helpful for him if he wrote a new show or wrote a new play and just left these people alone.
Let me bring Andrew Wilson in here. So, Andrew, Graham Linehan, I'm not even sure if you're familiar with him, but he's one of the most successful comedy people in the country over here. But he's been at the centre of this debate for a long time with his very stark views about this trans issue. He's been bailed by the UK police, but only with the condition that he doesn't go on X. He wrote on Substack, in a country where paedophiles escape sentencing, where knife crime is out of control, where women are assaulted and harassed every time they gather to speak, the state have mobilized 5 armed officers to arrest a comedy writer. What is your response to that?
Well, his tweets are satirical in nature. It is comedy based. She's right. He shouldn't have been arrested, but she's also wrong in the fact that, look, people are done with the trans thing. They've had enough of it. This whole, they're just kind of regular people like you and me, but happen to dress up like with. No, that's not really what's going on. You've unleashed an entire fleet of mentally ill lunatics on the public, and now we have to deal with the fallout of it. We have to deal with having to deal with these people on a day-to-day basis. A lot of people are sick of it. This guy is just echoing the thing which is in a lot of our minds, which is that, hey, we're kind of tired of these mentally ill lunatics on our streets. We really are.
Ava?
I find that really frightening. I mean, why would you say someone was mentally ill because they feel they were born in the wrong body? I mean, does that give you pleasure or joy to just stamp down on someone's, personhood? What's the intent here?
Do you value truth? Because
of course I value truth, yeah.
Good. Then here's what's true. What's true is that if you're a man, you can't be a woman. And if you're a woman, you can't be a man. That's what's true.
I don't think it's helpful to get into
Hang on. I'll let you talk, but let me finish. Your attempt to gaslight everybody into the opposition of this truth builds resentment. And it's that resentment that you have to deal with. And you have done it to yourself. Like most of these things, the left does it to themselves. It's very obvious. People are not going to accept this. The trans agenda has stalled, and it's stalled out the LGBTQ agenda with it because you're trying to gaslight people into something which is obviously not true.
I think that, if you look just 30 years ago in the United Kingdom, we were treating gay men in the same way that we are now treating trans people. The mood does shift and the mood moves. And, I think that the stalwart belief here that we need to hold is that if someone does feel that they are born in the wrong body, it does not affect me as a woman if they decide that they are going to be a trans woman. It doesn't affect me.
So just in case it wasn't clear, the launch pad to the conversation about the trans stuff is that the guy who created a really, really funny UK show, long-standing show called Father Ted, Graham Linehan, gets off a plane in London and 5 armed cops are waiting to arrest him. The crime, you heard it, 3 tweets. 5 armed men for 3 tweets in the United Kingdom. For the sake of time, I won't reread them, but I think you got the gist. I think that stupid lady on there said something like, "This is frightening." I agree. It's frightening that people are being arrested for words. And then that same stupid token white lady on the panel says, "The rage against trans people comes from them just existing." It's not an argument. It's emotional blackmail. It's the same game they play with illegal immigration or any issue they can't defend, and accuse you of denying someone's right to exist or humanity. How many times have we heard that on CNN? Sorry, no, nobody's saying trans people can't exist. Nobody's denying anyone's humanity. We're saying something very simple. Men are not women. Women are not men. That's reality. I've met trans people who are just living as an average American, and I treat them with respect. The problem is when activists demand that you not only use the pronouns, but actually, even if you do that, that's not enough now. You need to believe the delusion. And even I think the most tolerant people, this is where they finally drew the line. It's not about hate. It's about refusing to be forced into falsehood. And Andrew Wilson has always nailed it. People are just done with the nonsense. Live your life, fine, but don't force the rest of us to pretend biology doesn't exist. Back to it.
Interesting part of this debate. The woke left have basically lost their minds to the extent that they want us all to sign up to disbelieving in science and biology. Here you've got a comedy writer who's been calling this out for years, now being arrested for clearly comedic. I mean, this first one, make a scene, call the cops. If all else fails, punch him in the balls. It's an obvious joke. You might think it's crass. You might not want to laugh. But actually, the point he's making is that biological men should not be in women's spaces. What is your view of what's happened to this guy? I mean, J.K. Rowling, who's no friend of Graham Linehan, in fact, has had a pop at him a few times before, said, "What the fuck has the UK become? This is totalitarianism, utterly deplorable." Elon Musk calls this he replied to her, "It's a police state." What do you think of this?
Yeah. So as you know, look, I maybe some folks on here disagree with trans activists 95% or 200%. I disagree with them about 5% about professional sports. And nevertheless, I've been attacked just as viciously as anyone on this panel. So I get it, guys. I get that trans activists sometimes drive people away. First of all, they don't represent all trans people. Second of all, the bigger problem to me is the hatred that trans people are getting that is irrational. So this guy, when he does the tweets about the smelling and the homophobia and misogyny and all that stuff, I don't care. Those are just his opinions, and no one should ever be punished for their opinions, even if they're terribly obnoxious, right? When he gets into, hey, if you see a trans person in the wrong place, start screaming about them and maybe physically assault them, that depends on the laws in the UK. But if you're threatening violence like that in general, yeah, it might be something the cops should talk to you about. And having nothing to do with your opinions about trans people or anything else, it's just that you're threatening violence. And then this other guy, the dude with the beard here, I mean, okay, so this is a common thing that the extreme right does. Okay, in my mind, there is no such thing as feeling like a woman. And I agree, I don't have that in my mind either. That doesn't mean that other people don't. I don't know why that's such a hard thing for folks to understand. So you weren't born that way, but they were. You think they're just all lying? And why would they be lying? And this whole thing of calling people who don't think like you mentally ill is actually super stupid. It's literally unintelligent, okay? So people think in different ways. They have different proclivities, including sexual proclivities and gender proclivities. If you can't understand that simple concept and you think anyone who doesn't think like me is mentally ill, there's actually something profoundly wrong with you.
All right, Andrew Wilson, there's something profoundly wrong with you.
Yeah, sure. Well, nobody said what was articulated to you was something which is
Yeah, it's
pure
actually
logic,
kind of exactly
which-
what you said.
Well, yeah. What was articulated to you was
logic.
pure logic. Pure logic, and I'll explain the pure logic. You have no comparison to make as a male for what a female does even feel like. That's how we know it's a mental illness, Cenk. It's really simple. It's the law of identity. I hope that you know what logic is, because that's what that is. It's the law of identity. You can't make a comparison for what it is to feel like a female, Cenk. It's not possible because you're not one. That's how that works. Stop trying to gaslight me. Stop trying to pretend that I don't know what a male is, what a female is. Stop trying to pretend that I don't know what mental illness is. The mark of mental illness is irregularities in behavior. That's how you know what it is, Cenk. How else would you even know?
Cenk?
So, okay, that doesn't make any sense at all, and it defies logic completely. So, first of all, you say, how would I know what's inside their heads? That's my point to you, brother. It just seems like you have trouble understanding simple, rational
question to you
reasoning,
is, how can you
which
make
is,
a
how would you
comparison?
know what's in a trans person's head? You don't know what's in their head. Instead, what you're doing is a simple concept called projection. Hey, since I feel this way, you should feel this way. And then you start talking about irregularities. No, there's a difference between, hey, someone is detached from reality and is committing violence. Okay, that's a mental illness, regardless of what their background is, right? But when you say irregularities in general, what is regular? And let me guess, you're going to claim that whatever you think is regular and everything else is mentally ill.
It's defined.
And then you call that logic? It's the last thing from logic.
How can you ever identify what mental illness was unless it was irregularity in behavior? It wouldn't even be possible. Not only that, you still didn't address the point.
It's
you
not
never
just
addressed any
irregularity.
actual point. Yeah, but that would be the process for the identification of mental illness is irregularity in behavior. It's the study of the mind. That's what psychology is. Also, you didn't address the point. How is it that a male could have any comparative cognitive function to know what a female feels like? They can't. It isn't possible. You just said you don't know what's in their heads. You don't need to. I know it's not possible for a male to know what it's like to feel like a female. It's not a possibility.
Okay,
so you think every male feels perfectly masculine?
Check. We're getting. I think we're getting
it has nothing to do with masculine.
But you get
or
that that's an
feminine,
absurd
you dork.
point.
But hang on.
Dork, you have no idea what you're talking about.
All right.
So there is no such thing as masculine or feminine.
Given that neither of you think the other has any idea what they're talking about,
My
given
logic
we're
is
drifting-
Nobody said anything
Guys,
about
we're drifting. We're drifting.
masculine.
This was a bad one for Cenk. He's all over the place here, which is understandable because he's defending the indefensible. I remember when Cenk used to say, well, I think in high school it's fine for men to play in women's sports. Now he says men shouldn't play in women's sports, period. Because I think people like him know this is all ludicrous, but they have to toe the Democrat Party line so their viewers don't turn on him. That's why it's so hard for him to argue the pro-trans activist side. That's why he deflects and doesn't answer Andrew's question. And at least the people I hang around and the people I talk to and interact with, I just don't see the hate towards trans people that Cenk and this other lady are talking about. I really don't. All I see is a bunch of people saying, leave us alone with this stuff. I also want to point out, Cenk says to Andrew that you don't know what's in trans people's heads. I'm surprised no one pushed back on that because I would very much disagree. We are told every single day by some wacko what's in trans people's heads. They think they're the opposite sex. Isn't that all we need to know? There are a lot of people all over this country that live all the time with mental illness, and I thought we were destigmatizing mental illness. I thought that was supposed to be a big leap and bound in our progressive world we live in now. I have mental illness that's presented challenges, but just like me, there are many trans people who just live normal, average American lives. I guess my point is, if we become so tolerant around mental illness, then why is it insulting to say gender dysphoria is a mental illness? You can see me shaking my head during the video because Cenk goes down this road of, well, if you're mentally ill and violent, and that's what I'm talking about with the deflection. After Andrew asked him a direct question, he goes into something we're not talking about. If you're not mentally ill and you're violent, that's a problem too. So I don't even know what point he's trying to make. Andrew really gave the most logical, digestible response ever, and they act like he's being a lunatic. And Cenk's big point that I think he thought he was making was that if you think people are mentally ill that don't agree with you, it's a stupid argument. I'm pretty sure the DSM for a long time classified it as a mental illness. And in political rhetoric, both sides may joke sometimes that the other side is mentally ill for their opinions, but no one's putting that label on anyone else about tariffs or securing the border. You see what I'm saying? Cenk's argument makes absolutely no sense because we're saying that people that have a mental illness are mentally ill, not people that don't agree with us. If telling the truth is hate, then reality itself must be hateful. And that's why guys like Cenk Uygur can't win this stupid debate. But what do you guys think? Did Andrew Wilson expose just how weak the progressive trans argument has become? Or do you think Cenk Uygur actually made a point somewhere in there? Please let me know in the comments if you do. Anyway, that's it for this video. I'm on Rumble now, yesterday's news channel on Rumble. Check out my X because I have so many interesting things to say. And subscribe to my second channel, The Dispatch Wire. I'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, you guys are the best. I hope you had a great weekend. Always put God first. See you guys.